So, it's been a couple days since The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was released. Like, it's been a couple weeks now, something like that. It's been a while, either way. And I wanted to do a video about it earlier, but I never got around to it. So, I thought I'd do one now, just explain my thoughts on it. So, I am still a little early into the game. I haven't completed too much, so I don't want to give away too many spoilers. But if you do plan on getting it, then I'd just like to mention a couple things so you'll be prepared for it, and of course just explain my thoughts on it. So anyway, when I first got the game, I was really excited because it's one of the most hyped Zelda games ever. Like, the only other game that was this hyped was Twilight Princess, and that came all the way back in 2006. So it's been quite a while, and it's just, and especially when you consider that this game came out all the way back. Like, this game's teaser came out back in like 2014. It's been held back twice, and here we are 2017, where supposedly the greatest Zelda game ever is finally out, or at least the biggest one in terms of scale. So when I first got the game, my first thoughts on it was, okay, so this is going to be a huge game, okay? And when I first exited the area where you start at, like, unlike other Zelda games where there's usually a title screen, this one didn't show me a title screen this time. It was just straight into the game. Like, that was the first thing you saw. You were playing, the first thing you saw. No loading time or anything, just right into the game, right after you press on the right after you press on the icon on the Wii U menu. Yeah, I have the Wii U version. I don't know if the Nintendo Switch one is any better, but it probably is, to be honest. So when I first looked at the map, it was huge. Like, when I first saw it, all I saw was the area that I was in, and I was like, oh, is this the whole map? Doesn't seem that big. And then I zoomed out, and the area was ginormous. Like, it was like Skyrim and The Witcher 3 put together. Like, it was humongous. And I thought, oh my god, I am going to be playing this game for like my whole life. Like, imagine all the things that I can do here. Because a lot of stuff was happening. There would be side quests. I would have to look for other items. There'd probably be a couple other missions to go on. And I had barely started the main game. So, one main thing I want to discuss is how the game actually plays, at least based on my experience. It takes a while to get used to, basically. I don't know how the Switch works, but if you get it for the Wii U, it can be kind of challenging at some points in the game. Like, for one thing, the motion control is not very good. It is actually really bad, especially when you have to do certain puzzles that involve tilting the Wii U gamepad around. It is very unresponsive. The pattern seems random, and it's really hard to control. Like, you can't sit down while you're doing it, otherwise it's impossible. But overall, the gameplay is pretty exhilarating, actually, and of course the scale of the game is probably the biggest point about it. Like, it is, as I said before, it's huge. It's ginormous. Like, there's such a giant open landscape. And unlike other Zelda games where there was a loading time in between sections, Breath of the Wild doesn't have that. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's just one huge open world, and you can explore every last inch of it. There is a boundary limit, but it doesn't really take away that much. And most of the times you're cut off by the sea, so it's really not that big of a deal. One of the weaker elements of the game, though, is the story. It is very well paced in the beginning and even afterwards, but the story is very, very short. Like, your main quest comes at you like after like 30 minutes of gameplay. It's a fairly short game, and most of the time you spend comes from looking for stuff. The main quest involves a lot of searching for stuff. I don't want to give away that. but that's one of its weaker points, the story. Another thing it doesn't do well in is the characters. The characters aren't very memorable. They don't set up the characters. They're not that complex. They don't really matter that much in the story. I don't see the characters becoming like icons in the Zelda series. There's not even that many, to be honest. Like there's a lot, but not that are relevant to the plot. So there really aren't, like, the characters are just not like some of the best we've had. Like we've had Midna in Twilight Princess, and you all know how much I love her. And then we've had characters like Linebeck, Girahim, Tetra, and Eslo, and like a lot of really good characters. And this game doesn't even have very memorable characters because the main characters are all like the main characters relevant to the plot. They're all like some of the ones we've seen before, like name a few: Link, Ganon, Zelda. You probably knew them by now. But there's not really many new characters who offer much taste. As far as what I know, I haven't seen any. There are like characters in the past that are referenced quite frequently, and there are a few side characters, but none relevant to the plot. So the characters don't really do a good job of introducing new characters and making them like likable, making them interesting. Nothing pulling you in. But it's another pretty weak spot. I do like the music in the game, though. The music is actually variations of past musical scores from previous Zelda titles, and I thought that was pretty cool. They were enjoyable. But again, like if you just like open world games and you like exploring and you like the game is beautiful for one thing. Graphics are amazing. If you're that kind of person, then this is the game for you. Like it's huge if you love open world. The story could be better, but even then the story's very well paced, so that's one good thing I can say. And it's still a great game, but I don't think it's as good as people hyped it up to be. At least when Twilight Princess was hyped up, it did deliver on like very strong, very critical game elements. When Breath of the Wild did it, it only delivered on one, and it did it really good, but the rest, it sacrificed the rest, and I can't really appreciate that. So I don't think it's as good as, say, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, or Twilight Princess. It may be better than Link's Awakening, but even then I don't know. But that's just my thoughts on it from what I've played so far. It's still a good game. I definitely recommend it, and I'm definitely going to be playing more of it, hopefully get everything. One last thing I'd like to say is that it's really, really easy to get pissed off in that game. Like, there are a lot of stuff that you gotta be ready for, and I'm even afraid just to mention it because of spoilers and stuff, but you are going to need to look for weapons a lot. You need to find every item you can, and the difficulty progression of the enemy AI is terrible. Like, it's not consistent. It doesn't ease you into the gameplay at all. And that's kind of a problem for the beginning of the game, especially since a lot of people are beginners here on the Wii U for playing a Zelda game that's not like an HD remaster, because we know how to play those games, but this is new. Like, we need to be eased into the gameplay, because it was the first time a Zelda game actually came on to the new system, and it's at the time when the system was like about to be canceled. And Twilight Princess did it, like it eased players into the Wiimote controls. Ocarina of Time did it a lot, of course. Like characters always tell you how to control things. Like those games did a good job, but for some reason, Breath of the Wild doesn't. Like, it doesn't ease you into the controls very well. It kind of just briefly tells you what to do, and it assumes that that's enough, but it is hard to do. It is hard to get used to. Last thing I want to talk about is probably one of the most divisive things. Like, you may like this, you may not like it. It's just the whole concept of the game. And it's just the way it's kind of built. Like, it's very unorganized. Some people may like that because it's challenging, but it kind of ruined the game experience for me. And again, I don't want to talk negatively about it. I know I've been very negative talking about the game, but it really is a good game. Like, despite anything I've said before, it's still a good game, okay? Like I know I talk badly about its characters and its story and its progression and difficulty, but it's still good. It's still a good game, and even those qualities are still fair. But no matter what, it's still a good game. No matter what I've said, it's still a great game, and I very much recommend it to anyone at all. Like, they're not the strongest Zelda elements, but it's still very good. And of course, again, I've said this a lot, if you love open world games, this is definitely a great open world game. There's so much to do and see, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Yeah, that's basically it. That's all my thoughts on Breath of the Wild so far. God, man, it is a good game, okay? So, if you don't have it, buy it. And probably get the Switch version, because motion controls are very bad on the Wii U. Okay, that's it. Bye. Again.